found myself a suitable battening stick. I mean, it's starting to rot, but at the moment it's still fairly solid. Use the pegs as a base. Now I'll batten both of these. Make sure this base is solid enough to take it. There we go. Now, generally speaking, you wouldn't want to batten with your knife on hard ground or where there could be rocks underneath this piece of wood, because when you get down to the bottom, if it hasn't split by then, I know there's not a lot of force on the blade when it gets right down to the bottom because it's almost completely split by then anyway, but the tip could hit a rock or something like that and blunt your blade, or take a big chip out of it, which is not what you want to do. You need to look after your tools no matter what job you're doing, so and bushcraft is no different. So first of all, we'll go for the Svord Peasant. Not really designed for this, I wouldn't imagine, but if you've got nothing else with you, then you're just going to have to do it, especially in a survival situation. Try and get that fairly solid. Battens in fairly well, so obviously the length of the blade prevents it sticking out past it enough to hit the tip with the batten. So, but as I say, it's not designed for this. But once you've got that slot started, you can make a wooden wedge and drive down into there. So that's that. I mean, it's done it as well as any other knife, so it battens in fine. I shouldn't really make a wooden wedge. I'll do that in a bit and show you the splitting that with a wooden wedge. Right, now on to the second piece. Now obviously the Hultafors has got a longer blade, so it'll be easier to batten past it, because I can hit the batten on the tip once it's down. So there's a nasty knot in this as well, so if I start it there, that would be, well, it's got in a lot easier. My pegs aren't particularly the best thing to use for this purpose. Ideally you'd want to have an old tree stump or something flat that you can work on. It isn't going to move around like these are. Or slip around either. unfortunately I'll get towards that large knot at the end, but I shall persevere. Or possibly even make that wedge that I was on about. Because I don't think that's got a knot both sides, you can see that, so I don't think that's going to go any further that way. I may actually have to make the wedge to get these apart, or use a peg. Didn't drive in enough. There you go, and that's why you can see why I was having a bit of difficulty at the end there, because there's that awful knot growth. But yeah, flattened it pretty straight on the way where it did cut down. So that's good. But as I say, that's that little thing's not really designed for battening work, so we shall forgive it that way. But with a thinner stick, or log, whatever you want to call it, branch, piece of timber, piece of wood, then where it was sticking out the back edge, you could batten it down and carry on going. But everyone's been bothered by wasps in these videos lately. Yeah, sorry. With it, if the blade stuck out further, you could carry on battening it down with your batten, obviously, and work your way further down it. So maybe that was a little bit ambitious for it, but I mean, it cut into it very well. So yeah, I mean, it's not a bad purchase. Very well worth £12.95 or whatever it was. But on the other hand, for £3.95, the Hultafors is spot on, can't fault it. No bends or chips in the blade. And you can see it's a little bit dirty now, but yeah, very sharp. Did the job admirably. So thumbs up for those two, which is probably, I mean, what most people would expect anyway for a more type knife, and such a popular bushcrafting knife. And also a massive thumbs up for the Bahco Laplander. I mean, what can you say? It's a saw, it does its job. So you're not going to batten it or anything like that. But it makes a very smooth cut. Takes very little effort to cut with as well, and it's very comfortable to hold. I'm not really sure what else I could say about it, to be honest. Maybe a little bit about its construction. As I say, it's, well, I mentioned before that it's got a non-stick blade. Well, I think I mentioned anyway, but if not, it's got a non-stick coating to the blade, carbon steel blade, obviously. The handle itself is got a hard plastic liner either side of the blade, and then a rubberized plastic coating over the top of that. with a green part, so it's like a non-slip coating. It locks closed and locks open, obviously. Comes with a leather lanyard on the back, a leather thong, whatever you want to call it. Construction of these, 2 brass Corby rivets to hold it. There's a small rivet inside just to act as a stop for the back edge of the blade when it's open, and the stop just in front of the blade near the choil when it's closed, so it doesn't pop out the back. This one, as I say, it's got the green plastic scales or handle, whatever you want to call it. Available in many colours: purple, red, black, white, ivory coloured even. It's not real ivory, don't worry. And obviously the wooden finished one, the wood handled one, which I'm not sure what wood it actually is. Probably have to find out for you for that one if you wanted to know. But yeah, I mean, not too bad, fairly well made, quite solid. Hultafors, pretty much the same construction as the Moras, but without the separate rubberized grip panel on it, which is, oh, there's some Mora clipper anyway. So that has the rubberized grip part to it. The Mora 511s and 510s don't have that rubber grip, so that's probably about the same sort of construction as those. Carbon steel blade again on this one, so you should be able to use it with fire steel, which I have here. I have a fire steel, so give those a go. Obviously the Mora first, very effective. Hultafors, just as effective. Very effective indeed, yep. The Svord Peasant is carbon steel, but obviously you wouldn't use the back edge of the knife, because while you're holding it you could slice yourself, so you'd use it closed and use the tang, the extended tang, which does spark. It's not very vigorously, but sparks enough. You could get something started with that. I won't try it with the Bahco, but it should work. It should do the same method. I don't want to ruin the non-stick coating on it at the moment, but when it wears down a bit, I expect I shall try. Okay, so that concludes the equipment testing, or tools testing for the day. Hope you found it interesting, or informative anyway, even if it's not that interesting. But I mean, the general ideas. If you're new to bushcraft and you want something cheap, or cheaper than a Mora, go for a Hultafors. I mean, they're not bushcrafty colours, they're not forest green or camouflage or anything like that, but they do the job very well. Not sure how long the belt buckle will last, the belt loop rather will last, but I'm sure it wouldn't be the end of the world to try and replace that at some point when manufacturing your own. But yeah, seems to do the job. And as I say, $3.95 for that, the Hultafors. With postage it came to about £7, so nearly as much for postage as it was for the knife, but it's still cheaper than a Mora. The cheapest I've found for a clipper is about £8, £8.50, something like that, and normally that's got postage on top as well, so it's very well, there's not a lot between them, but they both perform very well. And for this one was $12.95, and that was with free postage from Henny Haynes, that one. Again, it's a great little folding knife. If you didn't want a fixed blade knife, then one of these is more than adequate for you. It's obviously got a tougher blade than most folding knives, and if you break the handle, it's not impossible to make new ones, take it apart fairly easily yourself. So, and being carbon steel rather, it's you can strike a spark off. In most folding knives these days are stainless steel blades, like the Swiss Army knives, Victoria and Wenger type things. So yeah, for a folding knife, that's a very good buy, very cheap, reasonably priced. And for a fixed blade, very cheap, good buy, for the Hultafors. Bahco Laplanders, great saws, but not the cheapest out there. That one was £16. So I mean, you can get them folding saws for £4 or £5 if you go to a DIY place, but it cuts a lot smoother than those will, and it's got great reviews, and I say it comes with its leather lanyard. Most of the other folding saws don't come with a lanyard at all. Definitely feels very solid. The handle feels very solid compared to some of the cheap ones I've used. So yeah, okay, and I will go this time. I won't bore you anymore. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll speak to you next time.